A kit that will get you out of trouble when traveling, that is compact and lightweight, and which you can carry on a plane. That was the challenge, and this is the kit. I'm planning a trip to Thailand to catch up with a good friend of mine, and I'll be travelling with hand luggage only. Now, my travel essentials kit here, which I normally would not want to be without, is great for those times when you have check-in luggage, but it's a bit heavy and bulky for pure carry-on. Not only because size and weight are severely restricted, but also because it contains a knife, which is not allowed in the cabin, and also some tools, which are also restricted. So I need a new travel kit for when flying with hand luggage only, and this is it, my flight-friendly compact travel essentials kit. If I quickly compare the new version with the original travel kit, you can see it is much more compact, and it actually drops almost a third of the weight, coming in at 450 grams. And like before, the purpose of this kit is to solve problems on the go when you're traveling. So let's open it up and see what it looks like. As you can see, everything has its place to ensure it fits in the pouch, and it did turn into a bit of a jigsaw puzzle to try and get it all to fit, but it does fit really well, and it's certainly not bulging at the seams. And if you want to know where I got everything for this kit, I'll put links in the description down below. So let's start with the pouch. This is the well-known and much used Maxpedition Micro, and a step down in size from my usual choice, which is the Maxpedition Mini. And the reason I like these pouches so much is that they open up like a book, so everything is visible and accessible without having to root around too much trying to remember what you have and where everything is. Now, this is made from a Teflon coated water resistant ballistic nylon. It's really well made. It has YKK zippers, and the size here is 3.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and it is around about an inch thick. And we have elastic loops and pockets on the inside and an external pocket on the outside, and also this very useful grab handle. And the weight of the pouch on its own is just 50 grams. So let's have a run through what we have in here, starting with this, which is a spoon. So if you grab a yogurt in a 7-Eleven and there's no spoon, or you get some takeaway soup or curry and forget to pick up a spoon, or you want to simply avoid plastic waste, or realize that a takeout wooden spoon doesn't actually work very well, then this is what you need when you travel. And this works because it's lightweight titanium, coming in at just 22 grams and folds in half. So although it's very compact, it's effectively a full-size spoon and therefore very usable. Now, I've used a fork in a previous kit, and this comes as a set: a knife, a fork and a spoon, but a fork could get you into trouble at security, and I think a spoon is probably more practical anyway. No kit for me would be complete without a flashlight, and normally I would carry this Nitecore headlamp, but we don't have space for that in here, but we do have a great alternative. This is the Rovyvon E5, and it has some special features that make it really well suited to this kit. We've got here a double LED, and then we've got 3 light levels right up to 700 lumens, which is very bright for this size. And this is what you need if there's a power cut, especially if you need to evacuate your accommodation in a hurry, or you find yourself on a trek and caught out in the dark. This also has a moonlight mode, which can run for 60 hours on a single charge, and you also have instant access to turbo. You also have a strobe, and then it gets interesting because you have some body lights. You have a white light which has 2 levels, and that can light up a room, and then you have a red light. Again, you've got 2 levels, and these can be strobing and also flashing, and that can be useful if you find yourself at night on a bike without lights and need an emergency light. Then you have a great feature, which is dual fuel. This light has an internal rechargeable battery that can be recharged via USB-C, and it also has a AAA battery in here as a backup, and you can switch between the two. So if you have no way of charging, you can usually find a AAA battery in a store somewhere, or simply carry a spare. And if all that wasn't enough, the case also glows in the dark too. And the weight of this light, including the backup AAA battery, is just 40 grams. A multi-tool is great for fixing things on the go, but when it comes to carrying one on a flight, your options are severely restricted, especially if you're flying out of the UK, where CAA restrictions are even tighter than those operated by the TSA in the US. I am though keen to have at least some multi-tool capability with me when I reach my destination, and I have two in this kit, and this is the first. This is the Gerber Shard, and it is actually TSA approved, although that doesn't mean it will get you through UK security, although I will find out soon and I'll feed back in a future video. It has here a pry tool, and then that in the middle there is wire strippers, and then we have two flathead screwdrivers here of different sizes, and a bottle opener, and also a Phillips screwdriver. It's made from steel, but it's small, so the weight is just 22 grams. So it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than nothing at all. Another option I should mention, even though I've not put it in this kit, is the Leatherman Style PS. And this is a knifeless Leatherman and consists of small pliers and wire cutters, small scissors, a small flathead screwdriver that doubles as a Phillips screwdriver, and it also has a nail file on the side. There are also some tweezers and a bottle opener. Not a bad option at all, except that in the UK there's a general restriction on pliers in hand luggage without any mention of size. So it could get through with the application of common sense, but technically in the UK at least it's not allowed. In the US though, I think this will be no problem at all. Next up we have some tape, and this appears in most of my kits, and this is 25mm duct tape, or in this case Gorilla Tape, and I've taken some off a roll and wrapped it round a plastic card like this, which I cut to size with scissors. The weight for this is just 15 grams, and this can be super useful for holding things together, sealing rips in bags or clothes, stopping your shoes falling apart, holding that light in place on that knackered old scooter you hired. You get the general idea. Really useful in a kit like this. Ticks exist all over the world, including Southeast Asia, where I'm heading, and carry serious diseases. So if you get one on you, you need to get it off as soon as possible, and you need a tick remover like this to do it properly, to avoid leaving the head behind and avoid squeezing it during removal, which is a danger if you use tweezers. This tick remover is flat, cheap and lightweight at just 2 grams, so it was an easy decision to include it in this kit. Then we have some spare glasses, and these are from Thinoptics and another regular in my kits. And these are ready readers, so effectively reading glasses, and my chosen strength here is 2.5. And they work really well. If I lose my glasses, I'm in big trouble. I can't read my phone or anything else, can't send a message, and I'd even struggle to make a call. Everything becomes a problem. Now, these not only allow me to use my phone, but they'll also help me find my glasses if I've dropped them somewhere nearby. Otherwise, everything would just be a blur. The Thinoptics glasses are flat and they fold very small, and they come in a case like this one, but I've actually fashioned my own out of a plastic credit card sleeve because this makes it a little bit more compact and lightweight. And whilst there's nothing wrong with the case it comes with, and it does work really well, it just adds a little bit of unnecessary bulk. They do hold in place on your nose, as you can see, instantly adding about 10 years to your age, but this is about practicality and not looks. Total weight here is just 6 grams. Next up we have a pen, and for this kit it's particularly useful for filling out things like arrival forms and visa documents when flying. And there's nothing worse than watching a queue for passport control fill up on arrival as you scramble to find a pen to fill out that visa waiver form. So I wanted a usable full-sized ball pen, and that's important as carbon copy forms are still evident in many places. And I went for this Rite in the Rain all-weather pen, which is made by Fisher, the space pen people. And that means it can write upside down, in the wet, on grease, and if needed, in space. It's also quite thin at 3/8 of an inch thick, and despite being made of metal, it weighs just 18 grams. It's also a clicker action too, which means there's no pen cap to lose. Cordage is always useful to carry for binding things together, or perhaps backup shoelaces or an improvised washing line, and again the list goes on. Now paracord would of course be ideal, but it's way too bulky for this kit. So microcord is a great compact option and is still very strong with a 100-pound or 45 kilo breaking strain. Now, to keep everything neat and to stop it unraveling in the kit, I've applied some heat shrink tubing to about 15 feet of the microcord, which I've taken off the reel. Now, the heat shrink tubing is easy to get a hold of, and all you need is a lighter to provide the heat to shrink it in place. To complement the microcord, I've included this high density neodymium magnet, and this means you can now fish out those ferrous items you might have dropped that are unreachable. So that could be down a narrow gap or maybe a drain. I've not needed this yet, but I think it's worth carrying it in case I ever do, as it's quite small and weighs just 9 grams. And if you do find yourself needing it, it could be worth its weight in gold. It's always worth carrying a few tie wraps for instantly fastening and fixing. Super lightweight at just 2 grams for the half a dozen I've got here, and kept compact and together thanks to some more heat shrink tubing. And if you cut them down to size, as I've done here, to make sure they fit in the pouch, it's useful to cut the end here at an angle, which makes it easier to fit through the hole when needed. This is a binder clip, which you will no doubt have seen before, and again is the sort of thing that can have a multitude of uses when traveling, such as holding clothes on a line or keeping hotel curtains closed when they let too much light in and you're trying to sleep, a make do money clip, or a temporary fix for clothing failures, and so on. Again, useful and lightweight at just 8 grams. In this tin here, we have just a few essential meds which you might need on a day out when you're away from your first aid kit. And I have just 3 tablets in here, something for hay fever and allergic reactions, fast-acting diarrhea tablets, and aspirin. And that can be used for pain relief. And I also carry them to use if I have symptoms of a heart attack, as they can help increase blood flow that might be restricted and buy me some time. Now, the tin and the meds weighs just 10 grams, and you'll notice that I keep them in their original packaging, and I would be able to get a lot more in this tin if I had them loose. However, I'm not sure how Thailand Customs would react to a tin full of unmarked pills. Now, this is not a first aid kit, and I would always recommend carrying a separate first aid kit that factors in any specific risks. However, I have included just 2 or 3 plasters or band-aids in here with an antiseptic wipe, and this is purely to deal with small cuts, which can be a bit of an inconvenience. I've also included some water purification tablets in here, just in case you need to drink on the go and you don't have access to safe water. The total weight for this is just 8 grams, and it's flat and compact, so an easy decision to include. Another favourite is this Rite in the Rain credit card size notebook, useful for jotting down information like a quick sketch or map, or passing someone a number or a note. And this utilises waterproof paper, and so it will survive getting wet. And the weight of this is just 9 grams. I mentioned there were 2 multi-tools in the kit, and this is the second one. This is the Victorinox SwissCard Nailcare. Now, the SwissCard is a bit like a deconstructed Victorinox knife, and there are a few in the range. And apart from the Nailcare card, all of them have a knife included like this classic, which would rule it out for hand luggage. The Nailcare card replaces the knife with a very effective glass nail file. Not a bad thing to have on your travels, but it's the other tools that interest me more. We have a magnifying glass that actually works really well, a 4-way screwdriver with 2 Phillips and 2 flathead. We've got tweezers, and we've got the ubiquitous toothpick. There's also a backup pen and a pin, which is always useful to have. And best of all, we have a pair of Victorinox scissors, and these are bigger than those you would find in a small Victorinox knife, but still well within the allowed size. And at a push, these can function as a small knife as well. All pretty useful stuff. Incidentally, if you wanted to see a review of all the SwissCards in the range, just come back to the link above where I compare them all in detail. It's worth having some emergency cash in here, and if you have a spare note in local currency, feel free to include it. But my preference is for a travel card. Now, there are versions of these all over the world, and you simply top them up from your bank account in a chosen currency using an app, and you have those funds available to spend on the card. And you can, again, via the app, convert the balance to a different currency if needed. It then works like a debit card, and it's also contactless, and it weighs just 5 grams. For those times when you need an emergency wipe, I keep an antimicrobial one at the back here, which is not only good for hand cleaning, but also for wiping surfaces, which is something you can't do with hand sanitizer. It takes up virtually no space and very little weight at just 5 grams. Then we have this, the biggest, heaviest and most important part of the kit. This is the NB10000 power bank from Nitecore, and it's a firm favourite in my kits, and it's the smallest and lightest 10,000 milliamp hour power bank available in the world right now. And this is primarily to keep your phone going when problems arise, although it will also recharge any of your other USB gear like the Rovyvon Flashlight. Now, when you think about it, your phone is your communication, your boarding pass, your wallet, your navigation, your hotel information, contact database, music, entertainment, camera, and so on. And if you get caught out and you run out of battery power, you can find yourself in real difficulties, which is why a power bank of this size, which will recharge most phones fully at least twice, was at the top of my list. And this one is lightweight for what it is at 150 grams and has USB-A and USB-C outputs, which can work simultaneously. Also has power delivery mode for fast charging, a low current mode for smaller devices, and LEDs here which show the remaining charge. Really useful to have. I wouldn't go anywhere without it, particularly if I'm traveling overseas. And finally, you will need cables for your power bank, and to cover all bases, I've included the InChargeX. And this is a firm favourite of mine for my kits, as it gives you 6 cables in one very small package. We have USB-A and C at one end and Lightning and USB-C at the other, along with a micro USB built into the end of the Lightning cable. And I wouldn't use this cable for general use, as it's a bit fiddly and it's also a bit short, but for emergency use, I can't think of a better option, and it weighs in at just 25 grams. Do let me know in the comments if you think I've missed something, as I'm always keen to get your feedback. And just to show you that it does all fit in here, let's put it back in the pouch. And if you've enjoyed this video, you might like my other kit videos too. Just click on this link here. And that's it for this one. I hope that's been useful. Thank you as always for watching, and I hope you can join me in the next one.